businesses are built on the back of great user retention. Asia's largest retention marketing conference, EngageMint, organized by WebEngage, was a gathering of founders, marketers, and hands-on practitioners who came together to break down the why, what, and how of user engagement and retention. EngageMint took place on 28th and 29th of April in Bangalore. The conference saw the participation of over 700 attendees over the course of 2 days. This edition of EngageMint was grander than ever before. The event had 2 stages. The main stage hosted industry leaders, and the sessions were focused on the why of retention. The side stage is where industry experts conducted workshops and in-depth product sessions to help the attendees learn how to ace retention for their own businesses. The conference began with a conversation between Sanjeev Bhikchandani, co-founder at InfoEdge, and Rajan Anandan, managing director at Sequoia Capital, on how to build businesses that last.
As entrepreneurs, as young entrepreneurs, we are charged up with opportunity and upside and valuation and growth. But if you really want to last, it's not just about identifying opportunity and return. It's also about managing risk. Because over a 30-40 year time horizon, your company will face many existential threats and risks. So how well you anticipate risk, how well you dissect that risk, understand it, how well you mitigate it, how well you insulate a company from that risk, and all sorts of risks, right? That will determine your survival.
If you look at India EdTech has a CAC problem. And if you look at performance marketing as a channel in India EdTech, what you find is that India is a high CAC, low LTV market. So the LTV to CAC, for many EdTechs is actually less than 1. You'd be surprised to see the numbers. So whenever a new EdTech entrepreneur comes to me and says, what should we do? I always tell them, focus on building your own media, focus on building your own acquisition channels. Don't have this Facebook, Google first acquisition strategy, because ultimately you will hit a ceiling.
A lot of time we throw retention like how growth hacking was being thrown in 2020, right? There's nothing called growth hacking, just to get you that fact straight with you, right? If retention is something that you discuss in every OKR, every month, it's not important to you, by the way. You should be discussing retention every week with you. And if you're just saying, oh, what can we do for retention? And hey, let's do this 20 experiment this quarter because retention is screwed up. Then my friend, you are absolutely wrong, because that's not how you can solve retention. Retention is like convincing that girl or boy in college who is out of your league, right? And it's not going to happen with just a coffee. It's going to take a lot more time to get retention. I keep talking to folks who are into stage companies at GrowthX to public stage companies like Amazon and Flipkarts of the world. And they tell me that they spent 6 months and improved their M6 retention by 1%. And they said that they got the promotion. So it's hard.
Next step is, we've done all these sorts of crazy things. Right? We've got product market fit, we're hyperscaling, and we've got capital in the bank. Sounds a lot easier than it actually is. But if you pull off these 3 things, the next step is not spend, it's hire, right? Because again, right, you're confident that your product works. There's not much that needs to be done there other than incremental value added. The core product works. Now you should start thinking about org design. While you're hyperscaling, there's a lot that can go wrong, especially if you're in a complex business like ours, or if that requires a lot of capital. There's a lot of places where you can really go off the rails and you can blow up. How do you know that you're not on the path to blowing up right now when you're scaling? These are some of the metrics that I've seen, and when I read about this phase, when I spoke to other founders that have gone through this phase, and even in my experience, these are some of the metrics, the 3 ways that a company can blow up, and the metrics to actually figure out, how to, whether you're in the right healthy place or not on those 3 buckets. One is your customer experience goes to the sewage. You're scaling, you're on a euphoria run, numbers are going up. But again, remember, we're in a retention conference. If your retention is messed up because your customer experience is messed up, 3 months from now, you'll be back to where you started. In fact, probably worse off than when you started, right? So that's one. Your customer experience is the first place where things can go wrong. The second place things can go wrong is capital efficiency. You're just burning money with no hold on the whole unit economics. And last is organizational health. How are your people doing, right? And if today we've got hundreds of people in our corporate office and obviously tens of thousands of folks on the ground that are helping us deliver orders every day. How are they doing? Right? Because it's a very stressful experience to build a large company in a short period of time. So these three places are where things can go wrong.
I was writing an article about the YouTube algorithm, right? And this is just for myself because I was reading one of the YouTube research papers and both were talking about this same kind of algorithm. But I wanted to be doubly sure, so I texted like 5 of the top YouTubers in India, like you probably know almost all of them. Then I also texted Raj. It's all about retention. It's all about retention. And Raj is like, especially because he's creating Instagram Reels, which is like a minute long at max. At that point it was 30 seconds. He's like, hold them for the first 6 seconds. Yeah. That was Raj's thing. He was like, bro, the science of this is just hold them for 6 seconds, you're done. Anything. You want to dance for the first 6 seconds, do it. You want to jump off a cliff for the first 6 seconds, do it.
Everybody, they share content which makes them feel smart. So I would share some, let's say, a joke or some information or some educational thing or some thought which I saw it on someone else's feed or some content. Only when I feel that, hey, you know what? This is making me smart when I put it on my feed. So that in my social circle, when everybody else is seeing it, I feel कि Raj ऐसा सोचता है, that's why Raj is putting it out. Right? That's all we share. The jokes which are extremely funny, which we feel that this gives a little status in the circle of our social circle, we put that up. And I figured that out that everybody does the same thing. So I started creating content which gave people a reason to share and made them feel good. So there were certain things which people would not talk about. I would talk about that just so that they share it more. And that's how you create shareable content.
How many of you have shopped on a site like Myntra? Amazon, maybe? More people on Amazon, right? Now let's say, what happens if you see a Levi's t-shirt on Amazon and then you don't end up purchasing it? What happens in that case? Everywhere that t-shirt sort of pops up, right? You're constantly reminded that you saw this black Levi's t-shirt on Amazon but you've not purchased it. वो आपको बार-बार याद दिलाएगा to the point that you think कि यार ये शायद मेरे को खरीदना ही था. Even though you did not want to buy it, आपको लगेगा कि हाँ यार मैं खरीद तो रहा था, खरीदा नहीं मैंने. So this is a very similar intent that we try to do with our students as well. But then a very simple activity that we do is, let's say you view this course on the left and you went back without purchasing this course. Every time you launch the app, this is the first thing that you see, that you're almost there. You should buy the course now and you should end up purchasing it. After just showing up this card, we saw about 3% uptick at scale. Just by showing this card that you are reminded that every time you launch that app, you're not lost in the hundreds of courses that are there on the app. Very simple stuff, again, can deliver outcome at scale.
We keep peeling the layers, so it's like that onion example always makes sense, right? And we keep reframing the question. The way you ask better questions is by reframing the question, right? There's an apocryphal story, it's not real, about Henry Ford asking, like, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. This story is not true, by the way. There's no historical record of this story. But one should never let facts come in the way of a good story, right? This is like, I mean, facts are we live in a post-fact world anyway, right? But what I love about this is that, imagine a hypothetical scenario. Henry Ford is going from person to person, doing his market research as he should have done, right? And asking them, hey, what do you want? And people have said, yeah, horses are very slow. The horseshoes keep breaking. The roads are terrible. The carts are very uncomfortable. Henry Ford could have done multiple things. He could have started a horse breeding farm. He could have started a horseshoe company. He could have built a road building company, which might have been very profitable. right? He could have built better, more comfortable carriages with foam seats. He didn't do all that. He built a car, right? Because what he did was he kept reframing the question and said, the question is, how do people get from point A to point B in a faster, more secure way, right? Without actually involving a real live thing, like an animal.
We need to keep on evolving. Businesses have changed, our approaches have changed, right? And I think when everyone talks about that change is the only constant, I think this is the most appropriate application of it, right? I mean, how we were 2 years back is not the same. How we were functioning, the things that we liked are not the same, right? There are new business who have emerged because of the markets getting changed, and it's more like a vicious circle, right? Why are customers changing, right? Their needs have evolved, right? And that's making the market evolve. Or it's the market which evolved and that's eventually making the need evolve, right?
Acquisition as a concept, right? You have to pump in a lot of money, right? Because that's where it starts. So you pump in a lot of money and you get chunk of users. That's the broader concept. When you're talking about retention, if you're able to do it right, if you're able to crack the code here, you put in very little money, right? You put in very little money, but you end up having a lot of customers, right? Which pretty much is a function of the everlasting relationship, right? That you build, the organic need that you're able to build to kind of position your brand in, such a way. And then, of course, it all kind of converges towards the monetization pipe, and you're able to monetize. But then the powerhouse of it all is retention, because the dollar amount you're putting here is very little. And you're able to kind of get a larger base to kind of feed them into the monetization pipe and then keep churning, churning in the positive way, not the negative way, right? In fact, the statistics say that retaining a customer is way more easier than acquiring, right?
People in this room, I'm sure every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, today the trend is like, if you meet someone, they say DM me, just drop something on WhatsApp. So the message word in fact is fading out. It's WhatsApp or a DM kind of a thing, which is coming in now. SMS as a channel or email as a channel has a limited experience model. In terms of there is only limited services that you can provide via these two channels. These are traditional channels. They have evolved with time, but there is a certain limitation in the nature of how these channels operate. But WhatsApp can take over these channels, and they can bring the difference to you.
People understand why is it important to buy an iPhone, why is it important to have a car, why do you need gold, but why do you need digital assets or investment of your own? That is something which nobody understood. But people understood it the difficult way with pandemic. There were a lot of job cuts, job losses, salary cuts. People understood that it is very important that you need to have an investment of your own so that your money can grow ultimately. All of us use Netflix, right? What happens with Netflix, as soon as you pay their subscription fee, you are able to view your favorite shows, your movies, right? Whenever you buy a new phone or a new car, there's a sense of accomplishment that you have it. When you start investing, there's nothing of it. All you see is a message that this much money has been debited from your account, right? So there's no instant gratification, but when you give it time, and when you see that your money is actually growing over the period, when you actually see the amount you had invested and the kind of returns that you have, that is where the gratification comes in. But it's a very long cycle. It actually takes years.
A D2C company helps create a very good emotional brand with a customer with their packaging. They are not just selling you a product, they are trying to sell you a story. They are trying to sell you a story in terms about the brand, how important you are to a brand, and what are we doing to make your purchase, this time purchase, even happier. So the entire process of we opening the product to applying it or wearing it or whatever is an emotional journey which gets translated back into word of mouth marketing for the brand itself. All the D2C company which you are purchasing from give a small coupon like a 10-20% off in their first order or every order that you are placing. There is a small discount coupon, a physical discount coupon, which is always placed in the packaging. So without spending anything on the marketing front in terms of automation, in terms of messaging and all, they are making sure that the second purchase happen.
We need to understand what kind of data we are capturing from the customers. That is important. And to what granularity we are capturing the data. Point is that whenever we are capturing more amount of data, that's when we have more weight, enough of ways to leverage our communication and craft our communication to be much more relevant to our customers. Okay, I can give an example. If you are just going through any wallet that you are planning to purchase, or any shoes that you're planning to purchase, you must be looking out for a leather wallet, right? Any particular color that you're looking out for, or any particular brand that you're looking out for, what is the price range that you're looking out for. It can be something which is like outside India, a brand from outside India, or else within a specific brand that is inside India. That can also be a selection that we can look out for. It can be a luxury brand, it can be a normal brand that we are looking out for. So many different ways that we can filter out our products, and we take those kind of data to personalize our notifications or our messaging.
Essentially, the question that we need to ask is, are your existing learners happy, right? So happiness is always inside, but we're looking outside. Teams are running after new customers, new users. Your founders and CEOs are perhaps running for new investors, and those investors are perhaps running after new companies outside the portfolio. But happiness is inside, right? So what's happening with the learners you have acquired? What is happening with the customers that are already spending a considerable amount of time with you? What does work then? Live classes, amazing teachers, community of fellow learners. Any guesses? This is what makes them happy. A better version of themselves, right? So let's take a step back here and understand what I'm trying to say. People said, certificates. What does certificate actually means? A stamp that you are better than others, right? So what essentially I'm trying to paint is that every person who is downloading a fitness app, who's downloading an edtech app, is fundamentally trying to be a better person, right? Socioeconomically, getting a better job, getting a better promotion, getting incentive, getting good scores in their exams, whatever be the case, they're trying to be a better version of themselves.
This is my first time attending EngageMint, and yeah, I must say it's been an amazing experience, full of energy, enthusiasm, meeting some amazing people. Offline events are back after a really long time, and so it's just amazing to find so many people from the ecosystem in one place. Insightful sessions, great people. We were up till 2 a.m. last night just chatting with some amazing founders. So I think that's the idea of this event, right? To bring all the people from the ecosystem together and sort of foster ideas, and that's what I've seen over the last couple of days.
It's very hard to find where people actually want to listen to the things which you're talking about. The concept and the setting of the entire theme has been done beautifully, and that's the best part about this conference.
It actually is my first time, but it doesn't feel like the first time. I've heard about EngageMint so much over the last few years. It's brilliant. I think the energy is amazing. I met like a whole bunch of startup founders, marketers, growth folks, etc. And just speaking with them one-on-one, talking about insights, sharing learnings has been pretty phenomenal. I think it's one of the best events that we have for product growth, marketing, all of these things combined for retention. So I would love to come, engage, share learnings, and learn even more from everybody else here.
When we set out to create EngageMint, as our flagship event, we had absolutely no idea that we'd be able to pull off an event of this scale. So thanks to everybody in the ecosystem, CMOs, entrepreneurs, retention marketers, product managers who have supported us in this cause and been a part of this. Thank you so much and thanks for attending.
With an overwhelming response, Asia's largest retention marketing conference, EngageMint, came to a close. WebEngage is now back to simplifying retention for the world. To know more about us, you can follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.